Hey, gym owners, welcome to the first episode of Mic'd Up, the Game Changer Edition. I'm Rochelle
And I'm Liz.
from TTV Media and Consulting, and today we're diving into a topic that affects every youth sports facility, regardless of the stage you're at, and that's operational gaps. If your gym ever feels chaotic, inconsistent, it's missing something, or you're constantly having to restart systems, or your systems don't feel like they're working, you probably have an operational gap. So what is an operational gap? It's a super broad term, but it can be broken down into the different parts of your business. So you could have a training gap, you could have a systems gap within your staff, you could have a program gap where your lesson plans aren't necessarily matching your delivery of them and the students or athletes that are in it, or you could have a staff gap, meaning that you are either too staffed and you need to find other programs to put them in, or you're more likely understaffed and you need to find people to put them into those positions.
Understaffed. For real, though.
Every time. It's just like
every time.
And I think it's hard too because in like gymnastics facilities, cheer gyms, and dance studios, a lot of the staff that are the ones that are rotating out, they're younger, right? They're in high school, they're incredible, and we want to keep them forever, but then they decide to be amazing humans and they go off to school.
And for some reason, they want to have a life outside of the gym or the studio or the dojo, and they go on to do amazing things. And they look back on their time with you and think, wow, this was the best job ever. But in the meantime, I'm going to school to be a doctor. Sorry, peace out. And now you're starting from scratch again.
I was like, the person who left, that was amazing, but they're going to become a doctor, like an ER doctor too, and they're going to do incredible things. And we know that they're going to go do it, and they're going to become a doctor. But like, they were incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, can you think of any other things where like there might be a systems gap, there might be like a staff gap?
One thing I thought of when you were talking about a program gap, the other kind of gap you can have is when you have customers that are asking you for a specific program that you don't have. And whether it's you don't have it because you don't have staff that are trained, that's a gap, or you don't have it because you think, nah, that's not going to work. That's a gap. You know that cooking saying, how do you tell when pasta is done? You throw it against the wall. And if it sticks, it's good. That's how I feel about trying new programs. You know what? Throw that program up against the wall. If it sticks, it's good.
Okay, I would just like to refer back to the summer rec team. We ran a summer rec team. We said for years that we wouldn't do it. It wouldn't work. Everyone would go on vacation. And the very first one, it sold out 3 weeks before the thing started. And every single time since, the rec teams have filled. No problems.
And then we did the fall rec team right after that one. And I had people begging me to open just one more spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I think those are the best ones, right? When you are listening to your customers, you're listening to their feedback, and you're hearing like, okay, this is a need and this is a gap that we don't have. So who do we have that can run it? Where can we put it into the schedule? Because the other thing that it could be is that space, right? You don't have space.
I was just thinking that space. You know what's funny though? You have way more space than you think. Way more space. It's a matter of scheduling it and finding someone on your staffing team that can see, you know what, like if we move this class from here to here, we have all of this space right here. We can do tumbling lessons, so yeah.
Yeah. And also not being able to afraid to go run multiple programs at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So many times I have heard from just customers of my own gym, well, we don't like it that we have to share the mats. This little team of like 10 kids.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
small ones too.
I'm like, reality is we offer more than just competitive cheer and we share the mats. If you would like mat space on your own, this may not be the gym for you. Although I also say even the biggest gyms share mat space.
100%. Even if you have 4 floors, you are sharing them with a tumbling class. You're sharing them with a private or a semi-private lesson. If you're in a dance studio, you may be running two different classes at the same time where one is jazz and one is hip hop, but they're working in the same space and you've got to make it work. And I think from a staff perspective, it's also, as long as your staff are aware and it's reinforced consistently, then they're going to get used to it, right? And the people who may have some setbacks about it, I guess is the best way to describe it, have conversations with them. Like listen to them, hear them, right? Get that feedback, and then is it an implement? So, for example, I can think of one staff member that was concerned that they wouldn't get enough time to be able to run their full routine. So the schedule was set up so that their team had specifically 30 to 45 minutes only on the mat so that they could run those full outs. They could run their routine and they didn't have to worry about sharing space. But for other things like, building skills, conditioning, warm up and stretch, those you can run multiple things at the same time, which is also going to bring in more revenue because you have more kids in the gym and you can fill those spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know with dance studios, a lot of the times a single studio will run one class at a time. But when you're talking about that overlap, this hip hop class is ending and they're doing conditioning for like the last 15 minutes of the class. You can bring in the ballet class and have them start stretching and do their bar work and all that kind of stuff. So while while it may not necessarily increase the amount of students in your studio, it helps decrease your payroll because now you have overlapping time, right? That saves a whole half hour.
And it saves us money, which as a business owner you're always going to encounter things where you're trying to find things where you can overlap, save a little bit of payroll, where can you utilize the equipment that you have, not necessarily buy new equipment to run a new program.
There's another operational gap, equipment.
Equipment and budget. Two separate operational gaps.
Equipment is so expensive. Lots of times, we're searching for stuff on this specific social media's marketplace.
Yep.
We're looking at not necessarily yard sales, but anything like that. You're looking for sales for the major companies because brand new equipment is expensive.
And it's also really hard for Canadian gyms because so many of the equipment manufacturers are based in the States right now. So now you have the issue of the conversion of the dollar, but you also now have the tariffs.
Yes. And the shipping.
Yeah.
Because now you're crossing the border, right? So you've got, and depending on what you're buying, like a fully sprung floor does not fit in the back of a pickup truck.
Nope. That's really good pickup truck, to be honest. Like
that's a a large size truck dropping off at your gym. Yeah.
And it's especially if it's, for example, you're having like a staff member drive it. Now you're having to pay that staff member their time. If it's a vehicle that you're having to, like a U-Haul, you're having to go rent it. Then you have the gas to get there. Like all of those add up. And then the same thing, if you're buying it from somewhere new instead of used, now you're paying quite a bit more. And it may be something that you don't necessarily need right now, or that you could be doing other things like fundraising in your gym to help offset those costs.
We did that the first couple of years. We had a very specific fundraiser to help us purchase equipment. But now we're getting smart. We've gotten smart for quite a few years now, where now we're looking for, hey, who has an air track that they've got at, up on Marketplace, who has what daycare is getting rid of building blocks, because of course those are always great for your littles to play with, right? So okay, so let's talk about how you find those operational gaps. Well, one of the easiest ways
than most people think.
It is. It's super easy. You can trust us on this. The easiest way to find operational gaps, ask someone.
Yep.
Ask your customer, ask your staff. Those two people are going to be able to tell you what your gaps are. So we're not saying that you're not going to find them, but sometimes having just one person look, there's not enough eyes on something. So the first person you want to ask your staff. Those guys are your boots on the ground. They understand, you know what, this floor routine would be fantastic if we didn't have Velcro that keeps sticking to the bottom of the kids' feet. You know, that's an operational gap. Let's fix that. This parkour class would be amazing if I could actually get a balance bar or a balance ball or something like that, right? So ask your staff, they can come up with so many great ideas. Just because they say, hey, this would be nice to have, doesn't mean you have to buy it, but it gives you an idea of the gaps that are in your system.
Yeah, you can create a wish list and then as you go through. And like they may even come up with some ideas that you thought was like, oh, okay, but they're like, no, we need like Velcro or like felt squares
Yeah.
because our tinies are needing to have a spot where they go and stand for their class, and that's helping them, stay engaged. And oh, we can play a color game with them, so now you're using it for multiple things. Or they're like, I need more yoga blocks for this flexibility class, and you're like, oh, okay, that's easy to pick up. Now the other things like, I want a crash mat, I want a tumble track. Okay, those can go on the wish list, and then we can look at, do we have space for it? Do we have room in the budget for it? And can it be used for multiple different programs? Because you can't buy something just for one program. It needs to work for everything for you to
Yeah.
actually get the benefit out of it.
Yes, we use our tumbling equipment for parkour classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And vice versa. We've started using some of the parkour equipment that we have for the tumbling classes.
Yep.
It works both ways.
Okay, so then the other thing that I would say is, so asking your staff, asking your customers. And then the other side of it is go through and map out the entire journey. So this can be something that you don't have to do as the owner, but you can delegate it to an admin staff. You can delegate it to a manager or a staff member that's been there for a while and they know kind of a little bit more in depth of your business, but have them start like from the phone call. It's like a customer calls you. What happens from there? Okay, what happens next? Okay, what happens next? And then at what point are you missing something? Or is someone missing information or a resource? Like, do they need a Canva link? Do they need a document? Do they need like a literal printout to have at the front desk so they can answer those questions easier? And then map out that journey for each of the programs that you're doing. So if someone's calling about your preschool classes, map that out. If someone is calling to register for a parkour class, map it out. And then at what point is it either, does someone get stuck? Is it inconsistent? Or is it confusing to navigate? Because if it's confusing for your staff, they're going to have a struggle to get those people registered and converted.
Yeah.
And if it's a struggle for your customer, you've already lost that customer.
Yeah, absolutely. They talk about that one click. On average, customers want to do one click to get to your program information or to do registration. Yeah. I know with some programs that really truly is not feasible for us, especially as you start to grow as a business. But to get them the information, that one click is prime.
Yeah. No. And it does, like, especially being in that we have shorter attention spans. Like, I think it's the statistic that says if you don't catch them within the first 3 seconds, they're gone. And the same thing applies like within like your registration process or your website. If they don't understand either what to do or what you do within 10 to 15 seconds, you've already lost them, right? They're going to look at other things. And I think that while it's important and you really look at registrations and like the people who are already in your gym, it's also super important to fix the gaps, because if they aren't able to get the information quickly and they understand what's happening or they know how to contact you to have any of those follow-up questions, we are in a industry of youth sports that we have competitors, right? Mm-hmm. If we can't offer it or they can't get the information, they're going to go look at another competitor. And they have lots of options. So if you're not providing them the service that they want, they're going to go somewhere else.
And I was going to say, and a competitor is not necessarily the cheer gym down the street. If you own a cheer gym, your competitor is soccer and baseball and archery and dance and gymnastics and hockey. And like, it's any youth sport is what it is. That's your competitor.
Yeah, it is not, for example, if you're a dance studio, it's not the dance studio that's in the next town. If you're like
Exactly.
a couple less, or potentially it is the 5 other dance studios that are in the other town that you're in or the city that you're in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the last
So,
one in terms of like how to identify them and fix them would be to have a staff member audit it. So once a month, they are having to go through and look at a major system. So that could be enrollment, scheduling, follow up. What are some other examples?
oh,
I blanked there for a second. I was like, so
I'm
like
going to be real with you.
like marketing, how your like classes are running, auditing those systems once per month and just focusing on one. Like this person's job this month is to look at all the lesson plans in the entire gym and are they appropriate for the age and development of that athlete? Are they challenging enough? Are they too challenging for that level? And do we need to adjust? And then based off of feedback with staff members, for example, if we're just looking at lesson plans, is it that those ones, when you're going through the lesson plans, you're not getting all the way through, or you're ending up with too much time, then now they're having to fill it, right? So that's a gap where, okay, we need to adjust our lesson plans to match what we're actually doing. I love lesson plans. I could talk about we need to do a whole other episode.
A whole podcast on lesson plans. Let's do it.
Love it.
Let's put that on the list.
Okay, so to wrap up, operational gaps are anything that could cause confusions, inconsistency, or a literal gap in what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
They end up hurting your gym. You're potentially losing customers. Your staff are getting frustrated. Your customers are getting frustrated. You're potentially losing money, and your customers are potentially going to a competitor if they're not able to find the information or register the way that they need to at your gym.
Yeah. So you're going to close those. Remember, you want to talk to everybody. You want to talk to your customers. You want to talk to your staff. You also want to go around. Like I know I said like, oh, sometimes one pair of eyes, but you want to go around. And the way you start to close them, you focus on one gap at a time. Don't try and fix everything all at once. You're going to feel overwhelmed. If you notice that somebody answers your phone by not using your phone script, that's a gap. Close it right away. You can make it procedure of the week and put it in your staff newsletter or follow up with that specific person if they're the only one that's doing it. Lots of little things, but I highly recommend you choose one gap at a time, and eventually that will build.
Awesome. If you want help identifying or fixing the gaps in your gym, your facility, or your studio, let's talk inside our Game Changers Facebook group. We will make sure to put the link down below so you can do that, or shoot us a DM either on Facebook, Instagram, or send us a message on YouTube. We are happy to chat all the time about this. And just remember that your gym doesn't need to be held together.
Wait. Because I love this saying. Okay.
You ready? Do you want to say it because you love it so much?
I want to say it. Just the first time. You ready? Your gym doesn't have to be held together with sports tape.
So true. Okay, we will see you the next time that we have our podcast. You have a fantastic rest of your day.